Welcome to your Aged Care Compass podcast. Join us to find out how to support your older loved ones at home. We're going to help you make sense of Australia's aged care system. We talk about legal and financial considerations for ageing and how chronic health conditions impact your older loved ones' well-being. And we share real-life stories of where it went wrong for people and how we got them back on track.
Welcome, listeners. I'm Michelle, and it's great to have you listening in on our 35th episode of the podcast. For those of you who have tuned in for the first time, or those of you who have only recently come across our podcast, we launched Your Aged Care Compass podcast in May this year. Our goal was to bring an educational and empowering discussion to the community, enlightening people about all the topics they need to consider to age well at home. Our episodes have dropped every Tuesday since May, and there's been no shortage of topics to talk about. In fact, your feedback has guided us to discuss the topics you've asked for most. We've talked about some heavier topics in the past few weeks, namely about dementia and moving a loved one into an aged care facility. Being our last episode for 2024, we're going to end on a lighter note. But before we chat about what that is, we did want to cover a topic we're asked about every year, usually in January, when people contact us after they've spent Christmas with their older loved ones and are shocked to see their decline since the last time they were together. Coral, I'll pass the microphone to you and let you talk for a bit about what can happen at Christmas time when everyone gets together, and then what people ask us in the new year after they've considered how much frailer their older loved one has become. Thanks, Shell. Yes, the one thing we see each year, and one of the reasons people make contact with us early, every new year, is that they've been home for Christmas and they literally have been shocked at the decline in an older loved one. It causes a lot of concern and people contact us in a state of panic about what to do. Explain what happens in this scenario, Coral. Everyone is gathering for the annual family get-together at Christmas, all the siblings and the partners, and that in itself can be anxiety-producing. As we know, these kind of big family gatherings can be difficult for some families. And Christmas brings with it its own set of expectations, which frankly aren't always achievable or realistic. So Christmas lunch or dinner is convened at someone's home, maybe the elderly parent's home, and everyone arrives to make the day special. Family members cook so that the elderly mum or dad don't have to. It's all going beautifully until mum or dad begin repeating the same conversation or asking the same questions. Someone will say, "You've already asked that question, Mum," and it will be laughed off until another few minutes later when Mum asks the same question again. Or Dad makes the same comment about the neighbours again. Or, when everyone arrives for the Christmas party, the house is in disarray, there are piles of newspapers or shopping bags piled up in the spare bedroom, or Mum and Dad are wearing soiled clothing. And then an uncomfortable feeling settles across the conversation and whispered discussion about how Mum and Dad are coping begins. What happens next, Coral? What we've become aware of, Shell, is that some family members want to find out what's going on right there and then there are some family members who don't want to. What do you think is the best way of approaching this situation? I really think this is the kind of conversation that's best left for another time. I think it's more important to enjoy the gathering rather than instigating a confrontation about why Mum and Dad aren't coping. And it is often a confrontation that happens. Mm-hmm. Christmas Day is not the day to have this kind of discussion. Absolutely. And this is where we're often contacted by people in the new year, recounting their own experience of this kind of situation and stressed about what to do. That's right, Shell, but it's okay. It can be confronting to see how an older loved one has declined cognitively or functionally when we haven't seen them for a while. What I want people listening to this episode to realise is that if this turns out to being your experience of the Christmas get-together, not to panic. It's okay. And from this recognition, then you can begin to work out what you're going to do about having the conversation with mum or dad about what you've seen. And this isn't always an easy conversation to have. And from there, you can begin planning for introducing help at home.
FlexiCare is a not-for-profit organisation which supports older people living in Brisbane's southern suburbs to live their best lives in their own homes and communities. FlexiCare don't have grand plans to be the biggest aged care provider. They want to be known for treating each one of their participants as an individual who they get to know well. They answer their phone calls personally when clients ring them. They give their clients easy access to a home care partner who can work with them to deliver the best mix of support possible. If you're in Brisbane South and want to know more, give their friendly team a call on 07 3422 8400 or check out their website flexi.org.au.
Great advice, Coral. So what we want to end this episode with, how we wanted to wrap up this year, is another question we see across social media, or we're asked by our clients and friends. And that is, what kind of gift can I get for mum or dad? Yes, so we've had to become a little creative with gift giving for mum, mainly because if she ever needs anything, we buy it. And also because she doesn't really need anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But Christmas is special and so is mum. So what I do is this year I bought a couple of tickets to a show that I'll be taking mum to when it's on later in the year. So in March, we are going to see a Neil Diamond tribute show. Thankfully, mum won't be listening to this podcast, so I haven't blown the surprise. Other things I've done for mum is design a personalised calendar for her, or our other sister makes wall hangings using family photos that have been taken throughout the year. Yep. Other things we've done are buying a low-maintenance plant or an orchid, buying a gift certificate for a nice restaurant, and then taking mum out for dinner. New clothes. In fact, mum is also getting 3 new dresses for Christmas this year as well. Previously, I've also given mum a subscription for a magazine for the year. And, Shell, my kids ask me what I want for Christmas every year as well. And honestly, spending time with them is all that I really want. Throw in a nice cocktail and a board game. And that's what I want. That will make me happy for Christmas. So giving your time, making the time to spend with your older loved ones, I think is actually the ultimate gift.
Yep, I totally agree. But they are fabulous, all fabulous suggestions, Coral. Listeners, that brings almost to the close of both this episode and our podcast for 2024. But there's one exciting thing that we wanted to say before we sign off for the year. We're introducing something new with our podcast next year, the opportunity for sponsorship of the podcast. Coral, could you explain this further?
That's right, Shell. We're inviting purpose-led organisations and individuals to align with us on the podcast next year. So that will be sponsorship, and it will be for a 4-week period. The sponsor of those 4 episodes will be offered a guest spot to, talk about their why they do what they do, and to talk about the organisation that they work for or the service that they provide that is making a difference to older people receiving aged care services. And then, of course, that sponsor will have their branding across our podcast, our website, and in our email newsletter that goes out every month. We're lining up our guest speakers as we speak, and the themes we're curating for next year are really exciting. There'll be limited opportunity for the sponsorship, given that the period of sponsorship is for 4 weeks and the duration of the podcast is a year. So we are already locking in some absolutely wonderful organisations.
Yep.
If you're listening to this and thinking you'd like to be part of the podcast for 2025, you can download the sponsorship proposal from our podcast webpage. And even though we'll be on our Christmas break, I'll be working on the podcast in the background. So don't hesitate to contact us and secure your spot. We're recording next year's episodes from mid-January, and they will be ready to go at relaunch on Tuesday, the 4th of February.
I can't wait for next year. And I know who you have been lining up as guests, Coral, and it's impressive. On that note, we have a small favour to ask. If you're listening to us on Apple, we'd love you to leave a review for us. Or if you're listening on Spotify, you can rate the show. We would really appreciate your kind words about your Aged Care Compass podcast. It's been our pleasure to have you join us each week, everyone. We hope your time with your families over the festive season is special, and may the coming year bring you health and contentment. Until February next year, take care. Hey Care community, thanks for listening to this episode. So you never miss a show, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. If you'd like to know more about what we do, head to our website, cmeacn.com.au.